we ran an exclusive in the Sun about 4 members of staff that have left Sussex employ. Now, these were 3 very well respected, very professional comms staff, 2 communications directors, 1 based here in the UK, and also the person who was initially behind Meghan's Instagram page until recent weeks, where they've now joined Method Communications. They've got this whole new body of team that were behind the twerking video. How do we feel about this change of direction for the Sussexes, guys?
Well, I mean, it happens the whole time, doesn't it? She can't keep staff, and that's always a very bad sign. And that goes back for decades. Well, not decades. It goes back for years, though. I mean, everyone leaves. I mean, she's obviously a nightmare to work for. And I mean, I've told this story before, but, you know, first time I heard about it was when she was rude to the gardener when she was at Frogmore Cottage, and the head gardener went and complained to the Queen. Queen drove down in her Land Rover and ticked her off.
Oh, wow.
But that's ages ago. You know,
who would do that now in this kind of situation? There isn't anyone to drive
well,
down
no, she
to
just sacks,
Montecito.
no, she just sacks people and then gets new people. And that's just the same as all these new projects. I mean, she can't keep people. It must be very difficult for them because as she's always changing direction, it must be very difficult for them to navigate actually what's going on. And then the moment something goes wrong, she blames probably somebody and chucks them out and gets a new person. And so it goes on.
This is interesting. One source said to me, Samara, when we broke the story, they said, well, they always blame other people. There's always somebody else to blame if things go wrong.
Yes.
Because things have gone wrong this year. There's been so many PR disasters that have happened this year. Is there maybe a time where they stop blaming their comms chiefs and maybe start looking at themselves?
It's a great question. I mean, their entire life is built upon the blame game and this victimhood that they perpetuate. I mean, they put it on their own family. They put it on their staff. Their staff are a revolving door of, as you said, Hugo, very qualified people who have worked in very high pressure environments, Meta, Apple, you know, Facebook. It's ridiculous that they aren't able to hold them, or Meghan isn't able to manage people properly. And not to go back to the podcast, but she said this very interesting quote. She said, "I no longer value decision made by committee," which basically means I don't care about what anyone else thinks anymore. I'm not going to consult anyone. And I basically am a one-man show and an echo chamber, which really does go to the whole dictator in high heels claims, you know, the accusations of bullying and the way that she manages her staff just being absolutely perilous.
So we think going on that line then, do we think that the twerking video, which we are told is, you know, all to do with this new super duper dream team that they've brought in that knows how to get content online? I mean, it had 42 million views. That will be viewed as a success in Montecito. Do we think that Meghan is the I think ideation she used in this podcast quite a lot, which I had to Google. But do you think she comes up with all the ideas? Do you think she was behind that twerking video, as you pointed out, that, you know, she doesn't want to do things by committee? Or do we think that this whole new team that she's brought in that's coming up with fresh ideas are the ones that have really given fresh impetus to her social media?
I mean, it was so left of field to see that twerking video. I know we've spoken about it a lot and everything like that, but it was such a change from the sanitized linens and cherry picking and fruit picking in the forest of Montecito. Then to see that twerking video with the random sound over it, it's such a sort of swerve in the other direction for her brand and her social media page. I know that it did get a lot of traction, and that's kind of what she wants at the end of the day.
Meghan and Harry, the couple who can blame just about anyone, except themselves, from palace staff to press, from family to friends. If something goes wrong, there's always someone else to take the fall. And now, with yet another round of staff departures, people are asking the same question again. Why does everyone around them keep quitting? Well, maybe the answer isn't about loyalty. Maybe it's about leadership. This isn't new. Ever since they stepped down as working royals, Meghan and Harry have built a brand on the blame game. The palace? Too rigid, the media? Too cruel, the family? Too cold, and now, the staff? Too disloyal. The truth is, it's the same story told with a different villain every time. If you listen closely, you'll notice the only people never at fault are Meghan and Harry. Let's talk about this latest so-called staff cull. Reports say senior aides, PR advisors, and even long-term assistants have left the Sussex team, again some quietly, some abruptly. It's been a revolving door of professionals, and yet every time someone walks out, we hear the same excuse: they weren't a good fit. At what point do we stop asking what's wrong with the staff, and start asking what's wrong with the bosses? In Hollywood, loyalty is temporary and image is everything, and that's exactly what Meghan and Harry's world has become. They've swapped royal tradition for celebrity chaos, endless rebranding, reshuffling, and rehiring. 1 minute it's Archewell's mission, the next it's Netflix documentaries. The next it's lawsuits, but behind the glamorous exterior, insiders say it's a nightmare to work for, unpredictable, high pressure, and built on blame. Every failed project, every broken relationship, every PR disaster, there's always someone else to blame. Remember Spotify? That ended with executives saying the couple were grifters. Remember the Netflix criticism? The production team reportedly said they were impossible to satisfy. At some point, it's not bad luck, it's bad management. And that's the reality they refuse to see. Meanwhile, back in Britain, the royals continue, quietly, professionally, with stability. The king has his longtime staff, loyal for decades, Prince William and Princess Kate. The same core team since before their marriage, no scandals, no revolving door, no drama. That's the difference between running a royal household and running a celebrity brand. Taunts, misunderstood visionaries surrounded by people who don't get it. Privately, former aides describe something very different: tension, ego, and control. It's a world where everyone's disposable except the two stars at the center. And that's why this latest staff cull is no shock at all. So here we are again, another fallout, another round of resignations, another headline about blame. Meghan and Harry's entire life now seems built on it, blaming, reshaping, and rewriting the narrative. But until they start looking inward, not outward, the cycle will never end. Because no amount of staff changes can fix what's broken if the problem starts at the top.
I did get the chance to listen to Meghan's latest podcast interview, and I kind of almost choked on my little can of gin and tonic when I heard the line of her asking people to tell the truth about her. What do you make of this line, Samara? Because she has been accused in the past of kind of bending the truth a little bit. It was kind of a plea where she was saying she wanted to change the narrative, and the narrative would be she wanted people to speak the truth about her.
Yeah, speaking the truth, how about that Buckingham Palace audit and Kensington Palace audit where that has been withheld and not shown to the public? I think that would have a lot of truths in it about Meghan and the bullying allegations, or the revolving door of staff that she churns through, that she's had to sign NDAs. I mean, I don't want to listen to this woman about truth, because the fact of the matter is she's a constant liar. Her whole brand is built on a spin of lies, and I don't trust a word that woman says. So I think that it is very, very low of her to insinuate that we should listen to her truth, or she wishes that other members of the royal family told truths. I don't want to hear it from her. I really don't.
Well, she was referring to 8 years ago. She said, "My dear friend Serena told me years ago, a lie can't last forever." And she added, 8 years ago is a long time, but not forever. She's trying to move forward, Hugo, but she is still talking about, still harking back to issues or problems that she had when she was in the royal family.
Well, yes, she'll always do that. But actually, I think Samara and I and others do actually tell the truth about her, and I don't think she likes it very much.
Right. I mean, that's probably one of the points. She did mention in the podcast that she was thick-skinned. Again, I did kind of raise my eyebrows a little bit about that. But
apparently a failure is a win for her. She also said that, and she ought to know, because there have been plenty of them. And then also she said at the very end, if you persevered, which was I mean, thank you very much for making me watch an hour and a half of this stuff, by the way. I really needed that. At the very end, she said that her 15-year-old self would be very proud of her present-day self. And how she's doing. So I wonder what her 15-year-old self was like. I mean, God.
I don't think anyone's proud of their 15-year-old self. I mean, I don't understand what she was trying to say there. It was like the lack of authenticity in that interview was really palpable. Like, Emma Grede is, who was the interviewer, she's such a self-made East Londoner who actually really fought for what she has. And she's really the brains behind a lot of big brands, you know, the Kardashians, etc., which is a little bit tawdry, but, you know, she really is someone who worked her way to be there. Meghan, on the other hand, really socially mountaineered her way to the top. So it's very difficult to take, you know, this authentic side that Emma was giving and this complete lack of authenticity that Meghan was showing in the interview. It was very hard to watch. I don't know about...
Guys, when I was listening to it, and I didn't get the chance to write it down, but I started keeping a tally of the amount of times she actually used the word authentic. She used authentic, right. Authenticity. It was something that was scattered. I think it was an hour and a half long, and it was scattered throughout about talking about how authentic she was, how authentic her brand was.
25 times I counted.
You did count, did you?
Yeah,
25
because I have no life. But yeah, she probably said it more, but it was scattered throughout there, and it was like, that's the one thing you're missing, Meghan. Nothing is authentic about you.
I thought it was rather interesting that Emma Grede did that. I mean, I personally, I hate to tell you, being sort of very old-fashioned, hadn't heard of Emma Grede, and I imagine she did this thing so that she would be, a lot of our people, the Meghan Markle people, would then watch her and say she'll also be better known. So now, and I was very impressed by her, and I looked her up, and she's done fantastic things, as you said. So what on earth she was doing, except somehow sort of, getting on the bandwagon with Meghan Markle, I don't really know. It inspired a thought to me, as I was listening to this. I thought, why don't I come here today and tell you about my toothbrushing experience, how I respect the toothbrush and how I throw energy into the brushing process, and how when I squeeze the tube, I'm connecting with life and sort of feeling getting the goodness coming out of it. That was what I ended up thinking at the end of this. In other words, what I'm saying, it was all psychobabble.
Well, it's interesting. I came away from the thought thinking, I didn't feel overly offended by it. I was listening to if you came in as an outsider and didn't know the history of everything that's been going on, you would just listen to an entrepreneur talking with passion about her life and her business. And I think that the fact that we do have this long memory, she is trying to kind of change, as she talks, the narrative. And if she had come out with this interview 7 or 8 years ago, I think people may have been more favourable to her. I think it's because we still have the memory. We still know that everything that's gone on in the past. I think it's been such a wasted opportunity. She did seem to me as someone who was actually talking with passion about her business.